Do you feel like hiring a new salesperson is, in the words of Forrest Gump, like a box of chocolates? You never know what you're going to get? If you do, then you're in the right place. Scientific sales selection goes beyond well crafted resumes, impressive interviews, and personality based assessments to answer the question, will they sell? Thank you for joining us. My name is Megan Pruitt, and I'll be your host. This course is divided into three sections. We'll talk about some fundamental concepts regarding hiring salespeople in general. We'll talk about call reluctance and call reluctance imposters. And finally, we'll put it all together with some real world case studies. We designed this course for people who make hiring decisions with limited backgrounds in human resources and psychology, and we will focus strictly on recruitment in this series. If you're looking for information regarding the scientific pedigree of the SBQ FSA or for coaching and development resources, follow this link or contact us and we'll point you in the right direction. This course is only an introduction to the concepts behind scientific sales selection. It is by no means exhaustive. It's intended to help you quickly use the SBQ FSA in your hiring process efficiently and responsibly. In the words of the late Robert Louis Stevenson, everybody lives by selling something. Most people have something or someone they want to advocate for at some point in their lives. We consider selling to be a subset of the broader act of advocacy. And no matter what product you sell, what market you're in, or which sales philosophy you subscribe to, there are four functional dimensions of the advocacy or sales process that are the same regardless. You must initiate contact with your prospective client so that you can introduce yourself and your company, so that you can inform the prospect about your offerings and the prospect can inform you about his needs, so that you can influence the prospect to make a buying decision. And while the whole process is important, if you don't initiate, nothing else can happen. All of your beautiful sales supports, expensive sales training, and your top of the line product offerings simply don't matter. We refer to the initiate phase of the process as prospecting, and we employ a broader meaning of the word for our purposes. We often hear that prospecting is only relevant in transactional sales settings. However, it's very difficult to enter into a relationship oriented sale with someone who doesn't know you exist. Throughout this course, when we speak about prospecting, we mean all of the different ways and reasons you initiate contact with someone who can move you closer to a goal that's important to you. It can be calling someone on the phone, sending them an email, giving a presentation, or initiating a conversation during a flight. Prospecting is a fundamental tool required for all 21st century professional salespeople. Here's some empirical evidence to support that fact. This is a path analytics study. It shows empirically for this team of salespeople that revenue is linked to sales and that sales is linked to prospecting. But that isn't rocket science. So why should we care? Because about 85% of salespeople struggle with at least one form of hesitation when it comes to initiating contact with prospective buyers. We call this hesitation call reluctance, and we'll talk more about what call reluctance is later, but in a nutshell, it is the emotional barrier in an otherwise motivated and goal-directed salesperson that interferes with their ability to prospect consistently. But still, so what? What difference does this call reluctance stuff really make? Here's just a quick glimpse into why call reluctance might matter to you. Not only are your salespeople potentially uncomfortable doing the job they've been hired to do and less likely to stick around because of it, but it's also costing you money. This is just one of the hundreds of studies we've done to illustrate the cost of call reluctance. And the numbers for you and your organization will be different. But we've found that call reluctance is universally costly. It's important to note that call reluctance is largely learned, which means it can be unlearned. If you think you have a whole team of salespeople who are struggling with call reluctance right now, there are coaching and training resources that can help. But, as I mentioned earlier, this course will focus on the recruitment and selection of salespeople who don't have excessive amounts of call reluctance. Scientific sales selection begins with the recruitment process. Why? Because you can't hire anyone more qualified than the most qualified person that applies for your position. In other words, you don't want the best qualified sales candidates to be more likely to apply for a position at your competitor's organization than at your own. Just like salespeople want well qualified leads, a pool of well qualified candidates is recruitment gold. If you're consistently hiring underperforming salespeople, take a good look at your recruitment process. Here are some things to consider. Does your job posting de emphasize prospecting when prospecting is a core function of the position? This is an excerpt from a recruitment email from a financial services company sent in January of 2019 to expand their presence in a specific region. The company is looking for candidates who can empower their customers. Notice their description of the ideal candidate: self motivated and independent, caring, approachable, and trustworthy, driven to succeed, etc. Nowhere in the ad does it say the candidate will be expected to develop their own client base. Although at BSRP we're not experts at writing job ads, our experience tells us that if you exclude the business development requirement of your position in your job ad, you're more likely to attract applicants with higher levels of call reluctance. If your recruiter or human resources department feels like prospecting is distasteful, they are likely to minimize its importance in their job postings. Remember that like hires like. As human beings, we tend to hire people like ourselves. We'll talk about call reluctance in more detail later, but note that if your recruiter is predisposed to a particular call reluctance type, they're more likely to recruit people with the same type, and the people they recruit may struggle to a greater degree than they do. This is where a standardized, objective hiring process can be helpful.